Let's
Oh, shoot, sorry.
How's everyone's Tuesday night?
I'll go get them.
Good.
Good.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Penny.
We could
How
be
are you?
unless we
I'm
turn.
good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Hi.
That's good.
Hi, Bridget.
Hey, Penny, nice to see you.
You
Yeah.
too. Hi, Francis.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Gary's here too. And I see Gary.
Baby.
I got my buddy.
Hi,
Oh,
Gio.
what a cutie.
Precious.
And this one on my back.
Oh. Hi.
It's coming.
Jaw breaker.
Was honey. It's important. Please just sit down. I don't. David, please.
All right.
Hey, Yankee.
Hi, Yankee.
No.
Hello, everybody.
How are you?
Yankee.
Baby.
This is
Baby face.
weird.
Baby face.
I don't want anything to do with it.
Ooh. So cute.
His victims gathered with their lawyers.
Give it a couple more minutes to let some people join.
Turn the camera off. Huh? You turn the camera off. No. You're just going to show the sofa.
Does anyone have any fun Thanksgiving plans coming up?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
What do you normally do?
I'm going to wear my gobble till you wobble t-shirt
That's fun.
and go to my sister's.
Cool. Where's your sister live? Is she local?
Yeah, right around the corner. She's about a mile and a half away.
Oh,
She lives in my childhood home.
Oh, no way.
Aw.
That's cool.
Hey, bud.
You're blurred.
Was that little David?
There he
The
Thought I heard his
guest.
voice.
Hi, David.
Yeah,
Hi.
so my friends, bud. Saying hi.
Hi.
You
Hello.
What do you have? What's that?
Oh,
Spider-Man
Oh
walkie-talkie.
my gosh.
a
Spider-Man's my favorite.
walkie-talkie.
You hear that?
He's the best superhero.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
getting so big.
Just had a birthday, right, buddy?
How old you turn? How old?
4.
You turned 4. That's
Oh my
right.
gosh.
No way. There's no way.
You got a ton of mascots. Mascots?
Who's your favorite mascot?
Franklin.
Franklin from the
Franklin.
76ers.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty cool. Who else do you like?
Swoop from the Eagles.
Woo.
Who was that? Do you know who that player is? From
What
the
about the
Eagles?
Philly Fanatic?
I do like him too.
Go Birds.
Go birds.
That's right.
Go Birds. Oh, man. All right. Well, I think we'll get started.
I have some things I can't, I'm getting cameras people.
What? Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna have-
Okay. All right, come over. You're not on
I'm
camera.
watching right
All
now.
right. Can you guys all see this okay?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so today we'll start with some updates from the CDCN, and then Bridget's going to walk us through a couple research updates and an update on our new clinical trial. And then we have Dr. Rowe with us today, so he's going to talk a little bit about one of our new research studies about how to differentiate between Castleman disease and HLH disease. And then we'll open it up at the end for a Q&A session, kind of how we normally would. So we're really excited about that. So I wanted to start off today by sharing that we have updated our physician referral list. So I'm super excited about that. We've done this to give patients more opportunities to find experienced Castleman doctors. So the new version, it now includes a tiered classification system to help you quickly identify physicians who are considered experts in treating Castleman disease, as well as those who are on our scientific advisory board. So we hope that this will kind of help you understand which doctors have seen Castleman disease patients, which ones are on our board, and which ones we would consider like our experts in Castleman disease. But our goal is to help make it easier for you and your loved ones to find the right clinical support that you need, no matter where you live. So if you'd like a copy of this, you can feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at madison@cdcn.org, and I'd be happy to send it your way. But the goal is to continue to update this on every few months. So we just want to keep expanding options for you guys and continuing to build this list out as much as we can. So I know a handful of you guys have already done this. You've left me comments either on CDCN Connect or you've emailed me directly. But I have a QR code here if you want to do so while we're on this call. If you have seen a physician or you have a physician that you're currently seeing who you think belongs on this list, who is just really awesome, please feel free to scan this and to let us know or email me at any point and let me know. Any recommendations are always welcome. You can just share their information with me, and then I will reach out to them and let them know that we have this list and ask them if they're interested in being included. And that way it just gives more options. And always that's like another opportunity for physicians or for patients to get connected with a physician who can treat Castleman disease, which we all know is super important. But if there isn't a physician on that list that you're able to see or in local to your area, what we do have now is another new resource, which is called the Castleman Disease Expert Panel, which I have shared with a few of you guys. But this is a new virtual program that we have. And in this, it's a group of physicians that are members of our scientific advisory board who've come together to meet on a monthly basis. And they discuss cases with your physicians directly to kind of help bridge the gap between patient or physicians who like don't know how to treat Castleman disease. So they are here to kind of to help answer the questions that your physicians have. So this is really great because the benefit of it is it helps your doctors who don't know how to treat Castleman disease. And then it also helps to reduce misdiagnoses and delays to help physicians confirm whether their symptoms align with your symptoms are aligning with Castleman disease and point your doctors in the right direction. It also will help them to like understand what treatment options are available and where to go if, say, one of your treatments aren't working. So this has been really successful so far, and it's very easy to do. So if you or your doctor are unsure about like where to go in your treatment plan or you want an expert opinion, please know that this exists, and all you have to do is again reach out to me and I will help set your physician up with this appointment. So it's really easy to do. I just wanted to let you guys know about that. The next thing on our radar is we have
Madison, sorry. Esther raised her hand.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Esther.
Yeah, hi. Welcome all. Nice to
Hi.
be here with you all lovelies. My question is, do we have lingo or swipe copy how to gently introduce this option to our doc who is not so robust in understanding Castleman. I'm not savvy. I kind of just drop bombs and it's like, oops, I say what I think. And I'm like, oh, wait, that did, let me try it again, but it's too late. It's already come out. So I am one who would benefit from your guidance, your words, your verbiage.
For sure.
I mean, they're professionals. I don't want to insult them.
Yeah.
So if you have some lingo, verbiage, swipe copy that I could R&D, Robin duplicate, I would really appreciate that.
That is a
Thank you.
great question. We do have a flyer, so I would be happy to share that with you. I also believe that I posted it in CDCN Connect in the resource library, so you should be able to grab it there. But I will double check to make sure it's there. But you can also email me, and I will share that with you, and then you can share that with your physicians as well. But that is a great question. It has all the details on it about like what the panel is, what the benefit is of it is when we meet, how to get involved, how to get connected with me, and all of those details that you're probably referring to.
Groovy. Thank you.
No problem. Were there any other questions that I did not see? Go.
Just one in the chat about whether the referral list is going to be available on the website.
It's not going to be available on the website. It is available in CDCN Connect, also in the resource library. So I'll upload the new list there, and you can go ahead and you can download it whenever you need to there. So now that you guys are all obviously CDCN Connect members, since you're on this call, you'll be able to access it at any point through CDCN Connect. Thanks, Mary. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to share with you guys is that we will be launching sharing our Castleman disease Cooking with My Castle Fam cookbook this year.
wow.
We're super excited about it. Our
That's
warrior,
good.
yeah, it's really good. Our warrior ambassadors came together this year to create a cookbook with over 100 recipes as our 2025 end of the year fundraiser. And they will be going on sale starting next week. The cookbook features recipes for breakfast, lunch, dinner. It has soups, salads, sandwiches, appetizers, desserts, drinks, smoothies, and it also has a section that has treatment day quickies in it. So they're just quick options that you can put together as you're running out to get one of your infusions. And it's really awesome. And then all the proceeds raised from this are going to go directly to the CDCN to support our research and improve care for those that are battling Castleman disease. So it's really exciting. We'll be selling digital copies that you can buy for your Kindles or your tablets, or you can order a print version if you want to put it on display in your kitchen counters. So whenever you have guests over and they want to see it, you can tell them a little bit about Castleman disease and some of these different recipes that were submitted. And each recipe has a like story that goes behind it. Some have pictures with it. It's really awesome. So keep an eye out for that. And thank you to everybody who submitted a recipe. The work that went into this is really awesome. And no, Bridget, I don't think there's any castle-shaped recipes, unfortunately.
I figured that'd be a tough one. So
Maybe like a cake or something, some cookies. Okay, and then last but not least, I just wanted to check in with you guys. I know that the holidays are coming up, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how this time of year it obviously can bring a mix of emotions. You can feel it's exciting, it's stressful. Sometimes it can be, a little tough to manage Castleman disease and also support somebody with Castleman disease when there's just so much going on. And I wanted to make sure you're all feeling supported and cared for, not just, with your Castleman disease, but also emotionally. So I wanted to take the time to open up the chat and the space here to see if there were any additional like resources or things that we could do as the CDCN to make sure that you guys are feeling supported and heard during this time. There's really like no wrong answers here, or if you don't have any answers at all, I guess that's
Hello?
okay too.
I hope
But
so.
if you don't, if you want, just you could share some ideas in the chat, or you could come off mute. But yeah,
Hi, Madison. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can.
Oh, great. Thank you for having me. I'm here on my own here in Australia, so I don't know anyone with it. And I'm really struggling. My doctor's GP is willing to learn, and I will see her in the new week to get data to you. When I first heard I had it, I thought Castleman's disease, what on earth are they talking about? It felt like I was living in a castle, you know. I didn't believe it. I thought it was a load of rubbish because I was one strand from malignant non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but they've settled on Castleman's. Nobody knows about it. I've had lymph nodes removed. One of the things that I'm struggling with family, we're Italian and I do cook. Christmas time, just recently a birthday. I'm eating like a sparrow at the moment. I've lost weight. I'm just waiting to maybe see the professor in Melbourne that has been recommended on your list of doctors. My doctor's going to write to him shortly. I'm just doing blood tests. And I think the hardest thing for me as an Italian, I say this with my family, is they don't understand the disease at all. I'm trying to explain to them that there are times when I can't eat, and at the moment I can't. I'm losing weight, and they're getting upset with me, and I'm saying, you know, I'm just not eating because they're not used to me not eating my pasta and what have you. So I'm really struggling, and I think what it is too. I have sons, and they're very used to me being very organised, on top of everything. I used to feed 1,000 people a day years ago, and I struggle also. I'm wondering if anyone here has any advice on how to deal with family members who don't understand it, who think it's a load of rubbish, who thinks, you know. Um, the other thing with mine is I grew up around
Oh, Noah, did you see I
chemicals.
made just meat sauce?
Did you? Oh, hello, I've lost you. Hello.
I hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm sorry, I something came over the top of it. Yes, does any, especially here
Thanks,
in my
Mom, for
country
making
where,
me a special batch.
oh,
Sorry, I think I just muted that person. I think somebody's noise was coming through, but
okay. Sorry, Madison, my patience is absolutely nil at the moment. I'm really sorry. Um, I don't know. I'm fresh out, actually. I'm fresh out of a lot of things. Um, Yeah, I'm just wondering what about family, about, you know, also mood. My mood is, I'm really at an end point where I've had it. Quite happy to go home to God, actually. I feel that sick.
Dave. Okay.
Um, sorry, I didn't mean to cry. I'm just first group and people that I've actually met that understand what we're going through. And it's a struggle with the family. The other thing I do is I look well because I put my makeup on, I go out and I put, you know, I dress properly. I will not give in to just walking around looking shabby. Um, so when they look at me and I'm 70 and they say, "Oh wow, you don't look 70, you look well." But I'm not well. And I'm finding my temper, which I haven't had for many years, has come back. I'm very, very short at the moment, and I'm finding any irritation. It's almost like I want to. I have been, for people who, I have been in a lot of ministry through my life, so I'm really fresh out. But does anyone have any advice on dealing with family members who don't understand the disease and actually think it's a load of rubbish?
do any other patients have any advice?
same type of problem. And I think they finally just realized.
Yeah, it's talk now.
I think you're on mute.
I saw somebody had a very good suggestion. By the way, I'm Karen Hodell, and Bob and I
Hello,
are here
Karen.
in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm very, very sorry for what you're going through.
I think, Karen, what it is the fact that my GP, my oncologist, I've had lymph nodes removed. I had a hole in my gut, and and no one is actually, as far as the medical world here, where I live on the coast, has been helpful. They've done the operations and sent me home. And I think where my frustration is, I've done my own research, probably like a lot, and I'm so grateful to have found this group, because now I'm actually learning about what this disease is. And I'll be honest with you, Karen, I thought when they told me, I just thought it was, they couldn't work out what I had, so they just labelled it something. So my own research in the last 2 years has actually led me here, and will be leading my doctor here too. But I think the hardest thing for me is getting around the family and saying, look, I can't eat today. I'm not well. And I've gone off a lot of food. One day I might like a bit of meat. Another day I can't stand looking at it. I can't eat anything. It's 2 days in a row. One day I'm having one meal a day at the moment. I think that's probably why I'm so run down too. But I know you all understand, and I appreciate that.
Do you think that somebody else suggested this, but I saw it come across the screen. Could your sons perhaps accompany you to your doctor's appointment?
I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's a great idea, but I'm going to wait until I've got bloods coming back, wait for doctor to write to Madison, and also to the professor in Melbourne that we've found, because we've only had one doctor here. I think we've got another one now in Sydney. And once I've got that, I think then that's a great idea, is to get one of them, or get doctor to ask him to come along, so that there can be an explanation of all of that. I'm really struggling with support. They support me when I'm not well, but support in understanding it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I'm only just getting my head around it. I've been researching every day to understand the difference between what I've got and what have you. I grew up around a lot of toxins, DDT, Agent Orange. The farmers were using it and buying it off the military for the farms up north. We were swimming in the river, drinking the water. And a lot of people up there have died from rare cancers and leukemias. And I'm probably thinking now that they might have had what I've got, but it wasn't known about in those days. So,
And when were
yes,
you diagnosed?
3 years ago. 3 years ago, when I had the lymph nodes out, I got it back from pathology to say that it was that one strand from malignant non-Hodgkinson, and they diagnosed it as Castleman's from a Brisbane pathology, which was she's very, very good. But because nobody's known about it, they've just let me go, and I think I've fallen through the loop here. But as I said, I'm a researcher. I write, and having researched, I found this beautiful
Are you
company.
are you having infusions?
I've been paying for infusions. They're like $500 a pop. I'm on a pension now, and I've been paying for them. I have suggested it to my doctor, but I think what we'll do is we'll wait and see what comes out of when she writes to everything to Madison and the professor, and maybe I can get infusions with him, because he's in the cancer centre in Melbourne. But he is he is part of this community.
Well, that's good.
But the infusions do help. But I think I've got to a point where I've done a couple of years of infusions, and at $500 a pop I've just gone through savings, everything. Yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry that you've been going through this, and I'm glad that your doctor is connected with us, and
Thank you, Madison.
we'll continue to work together to to try to figure some of this out. But
Sorry, I'm upset. It's the first time I've been able to talk to anyone that actually understands what I'm going through and
you don't
the
have to
group here.
apologize. I'm so glad that you could be on the call today, and well,
Thank you.
that's why we have these.
But you know what? To be
Unfortunately,
honest with you, I'm sorry, Madison. Forgive me. Forgive me. You finish.
go ahead. I was just gonna say, unfortunately, we have to keep
Oh,
moving on because we have a couple
yeah,
more
I know.
slides
I
and
know.
updates. But do you have
I was
something
just
you
going
want
to
to say?
suggest, though, that with regard to your family, um, they're not particularly helpful right now. So you're in no obligation. Um, we have boundaries, you know, and when you're having a bad day, it's not necessary to explain to anybody, you know.
No, I don't have.
So
I don't
you
do
just
that.
you just
Yes.
you put yourself
Mm.
first,
Thank you, Karen.
and
I am
we'll
doing
keep
that.
we'll keep you in our prayers.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. I appreciate that. I need the prayers at the moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
That's
right,
great
dear.
advice. And you have the support of the CDCN behind you. And I think Bridget had great advice too, that we can send you a copy of Chasing My Cure. It would be a great read for your family, and maybe it would help them kind of understand what Castleman disease is and what that experience is like. So I'll connect with you after and make sure we get you a copy of that. Um, but speaking of Bridget, I'm going to pass it over to her now and let her tell you guys a little bit of some of the research that we're doing.
Hey guys, good evening, morning, whatever time it is where you are. I also did just put in the chat. I know in the US, the makers of Siltuximab, they do have a financial assistance program. So if that's something of interest, feel free to reach out to Madison and I. We might be able to send you some more information. It's not a guarantee, but at least maybe you can talk to someone and see if that's an option. But tonight, I briefly want to talk about some of our research initiatives. So, as Madison said, a lot of the money that comes through the CDCN funds our research, and we're so happy to be able to do this really interesting research to try to find new treatments and analyze new subgroups of patients like yourselves. So, to those of you who've been a part of our research so far, thank you so much. Quickly to plug our registry Accelerate. If you have not been a part of Accelerate yet, it's a really easy program to get involved in. This is a natural history registry where we get your consent to request your medical records, and then we have analysts that go through every page of of your medical records to analyze the scientific data that might be within it. So then we can compare across patients and see if there might be any trends. To get involved, we actually have a website where you can just sign up, put in your contact demographic information, hospital information, things like that. It takes about 15 minutes. And then you're good to go. Other than that, it's a pretty simple process, and I'm happy to talk to anyone about it. Specifically, right now, we're actually running a few sub-analyses of the registry. So the registry can answer so many questions, but right now, we're specifically interested in folks who have been pregnant or become pregnant after getting an IMCD diagnosis. We're also interested in men and women who might be experiencing fertility issues and might be willing to share their story with us. We have a to complete. I think some people here already have, so thank you to those who have. Just because we have your medical records doesn't necessarily mean we know that you got pregnant, especially because we only might have your oncology records. So reaching out is great if you haven't already, so please do. And secondly, another study we've really been focusing on is pediatric IMCD. So those um, who are diagnosed before the age of 18. There's actually no FDA-approved treatment for children with IMCD, so that's what we're trying to look into right now to see, well, something like siltuximab sufficient and helpful for these kids. So if this might apply to you, even if you're now an adult, please let us know. We'd love for you to join and ask you some questions. Otherwise, if you're a CD patient in general, please join the registry because every piece of data helps. Just because we're focusing on these two questions right now doesn't mean that your data is not useful. It definitely is. So feel free to reach out to those information. A lot of you guys have my email as well. Do you mind switching to the next slide, Madison? And feel free to raise your hand or comment if you have any questions. Secondly, for those of you who might have already said, yeah, I did the registry, like what else can I do? Well, there's something else. You can give us a sample of your blood or your saliva, or even take it a step further and ask your parents or siblings to donate some blood or saliva. This is something we're looking into the genome right now of multicentric Castleman disease, and getting saliva or blood from your family members could really help out. Saliva is actually super easy to donate. I send you a little kit and you spit into a tube. Some of you have already done it, and then you just send it back via FedEx. Blood draws can be a little bit more complicated, but we'll pay for you to go to Quest Diagnostics if you're willing to go get your blood draw there. And it's a very similar consent process where you consent online, and then maybe I'll send you a blood kit to go do locally. I can do this internationally, depending on the country. But I'm happy to talk to you individually if you guys have questions about where you're from. Michelle, I see you're raising your hand. Go for it.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about the registry because I did join that when I was first diagnosed 2 years ago, but I moved states, and I'm not sure that
Okay.
traveled with me. When I'm now being treated at Hopkins. So, do I need to sign up again?
That's a great question. So, no, you don't need to sign up again. Maybe I'll reach out to you tomorrow or sometime this week, just again, update on what your hospital, your current like physicians and hospitalizations are. We do occasionally reach out, sometimes annually, sometimes less often, to check in and be like, hey, have you seen any new doctors? But we haven't done that in a while. So this is a great example of like, oh, if you think I'm missing information, please feel free to reach out. So I might have clocked that you went to Hopkins. Hopefully I'll remember this tomorrow. But if not, I'll probably send you an email and ask a
Sounds good.
reminder. Yeah, but thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. So lastly, for those of you who were at the summit in, gosh, what was that? August? It feels like yesterday. It's crazy. I was speaking about how we have a new clinical trial open for idiopathic multicentric Castleman disease patients. The trial is actually now open. I think I was just kind of giving a preview to it in August, but we're open at Penn. So this clinical trial is a 1-year trial. You would take a pill every day. The pill is called ruxolitinib. So for those of you who are used to like a isotuximab or tocilizumab or Sylvant Actemra infusion, this is a little bit different. You wouldn't have to do those infusions. It's a new drug that we think has some promising possibilities. We've seen a few patients off-label, meaning it's not FDA approved for Castleman disease yet, but they used it anyway. We've seen some promising results there. This clinical trial, like I said, is held at Penn. So if you're interested, you would have to come and get screened in Philly. And then, if you meet the eligibility criteria and you're like, hey, I want to try this, you would then go home with some pills and do some study activities while you're home and then come back at the end of the study. So we did only make a 2 in-person study visit requirement for the study. So we hope that, maybe makes it a little more accessible for those of you who can't travel as often. There will also be intermittent blood samples required if you join the study, but I know a lot of you are used to giving blood, so you're like, whatever, no biggie. To be eligible, you have to be between the ages of 18 and 80. You have to have documented evidence of active disease, which basically just means you're going through something right now. We have to be able to measure the change in disease, right? So if you maybe have like a lab abnormality or your lymph nodes have enlarged a little bit, that could make you potentially eligible. And then lastly, you have to have tried Sylvant or Actemra and probably not have benefited from it. So if you're, for instance, on Sylvant right now and you're like, well, I'm doing pretty well, it's possible that this is not a fit for you. If you're on Sylvant and you're like, actually, I'm not feeling well because X, Y, and Z, it could be a good fit. So feel free to reach out. There's no harm in reaching out for a conversation. I'm happy to share any more information. Just as an FYI, for those of you who might not be on the East Coast, we are going to open up another location in Little Rock, Arkansas, but that probably won't happen for a couple of months. So right now we're just in Philly, but feel free to give me a call or an email, or I'll take any questions right now as well. But yeah, that's all I had to share, everyone. Yay, research. Thanks for contributing. You guys are the best.
All right. Well, thank you, Bridget. And now I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Rowe.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. My name is Stephen Rowe. I'm an internal medicine resident doctor actually up in Canada. I realize that a lot of you guys are probably in the US and perhaps around the world even. So I'm really fortunate to get to join all of you guys and be able to chat with you guys about what I think is actually a really exciting new research that we just published. Um, so I think originally they were going to get Dr. Luke Chen, who many of you know, to do this talk. So I've got big shoes to fill here. So he's a great guy, but we worked on this project together. So I'm happy to tell you guys a bit about it. So the project that we did is, and you can see all these logos here. It was actually a collaborative effort with UPenn, the University of British Columbia in Canada, and the University of Dalhousie in Halifax, as well as Memorial University in Newfoundland. So that's where I am. I mean, I'm pretty much at the right tip of North America, actually. So, uh, so this is actually an update on the diagnosis of the Tafro syndrome. So many of you guys might be familiar with Tafro as one of the subtypes of idiopathic multicentric Castleman disease. And Tafro syndrome essentially being one of the more severe types of this. So you can see on the slide here just some of the features. So thrombocytopenia, which is low platelets, anasarca, which refers to fluid just building up all over the body, fever, renal dysfunction, or the kidneys not working well, and then organomegaly. So you can get large lymph nodes, you can get an enlarged spleen, enlarged liver. And essentially, it's a rare subtype of idiopathic multicentric Castleman disease that comes on pretty quick and can make you very sick. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this and research it. And I have another disease over here too, which is very relevant that you may or may not be as familiar with. It's called HLH, or let me try to say this. It's a very long word, hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis. I had to practice that one a few times, guys, but no, it's a similar disease basically, and it's also a life-threatening disease that is the immune system going into overdrive and attacking a lot of your body. And it's also a life-threatening disease. So some of the common features of that disease are persistent fevers, high inflammatory markers in your blood, low blood counts, such as low platelets, a big spleen, and high ferritin levels. So even from this slide, you can kind of see that some of the features overlap between this HLH disease and Tafro syndrome. And why this matters is because both of these diseases look very similar, but the treatments are very different. And they both come on very quickly. Thus, it's very important to diagnose them as fast as possible so that you can get the correct treatment and therefore save your life, essentially. You can go to the next slide there. So to kind of put this into perspective, I just have a couple of quick cases, and this was adapted from Dr. Chen's slides. But the first case is somebody from Vancouver, Canada, a 20-year-old woman that had lupus. They're on a drug called azathioprine, which is a pretty common drug in lupus patients. They came in with a fever, low neutrophils, and pancytopenia. So basically, all of their blood counts are very low. The doctors were prudent with the fever and decided to test their blood for evidence of infection, and they found that they had this bacteria, Strep sanguinis. They wondered about the potential for a bone marrow problem, so they did a bone marrow biopsy that showed something called hemophagocytosis. So this picture down here is a slide that just shows that, and it just refers to cells eating other cells. Is probably the most straightforward way to put it. And you can see that in this disease called HLH, for example. You can go to the next slide. Her blood work did show a significant amount of inflammation. So the ferritin level, which is a common inflammatory marker, that was extremely high. So high would be like 300, but this person's was 35,000, indicating a lot of inflammation going on. And the CRP was only slightly elevated. That's another inflammatory marker. Another test called the soluble CD25 was extremely high as well at 12,000. And the D-dimer, another inflammatory marker, was elevated as well. So we're not going to talk about this diagnosis yet. I'm leaving the suspense so that there's something to think about throughout the rest of this talk. But so the question will be, what disease does this patient have and what do we do with them? And then we'll move to the next case. So this is a young man in St. John's, Newfoundland, which again is that kind of the rightward tip of North America. Healthy young man, only 22, came in with a couple of months of fatigue, abdominal pain, trouble breathing, and a lot of weight gain. So 27 kilos is about 50 pounds. And you can see there they had some low blood counts as well, with low platelets and low hemoglobin. They did have a CAT scan done that showed quite a lot of swollen lymph nodes. So you can see the lymphadenopathy there, but pretty small, only 2.2 centimeters. And they also had this anasarca problem with fluid overload and adrenal hemorrhage. They did have a bone marrow biopsy, also similar to the first case that I told you about, which did still show moderate hemophagocytosis as well as this reticulin fibrosis. So they went on then, because it still wasn't clear what was going on, and they got a biopsy of one of their lymph nodes that didn't really give a definitive diagnosis. And then we'll look at their inflammatory markers as comparison to the first case. Oh, actually, we've got some nice pictures here, actually, of their bone marrow. Um, so you can see, actually, some of these changes are kind of classic of a particular disease that we'll talk about. We'll just move on to the next slide. And this patient's inflammatory markers were very different than the first ones. The ferritin was elevated, but only 669 versus like 30,000 from that first patient we talked about. Whereas the CRP in this patient was extremely high, 198, and the D-dimer was high too. So the question for that medical team was, what disease does this patient have, and how do we make them better? So this is where our research comes in. If you can move to the next slide. So this is the breakthrough that myself and Dr. Chen, as well as Dr. Fajgenbaum and others came up with, is that we found out a way to tell a difference between the Tafro syndrome as a subtype of idiopathic multicentric Castleman disease and this other disease called HLH. And we discovered there's a way to easily tell them apart with about 99% accuracy. It's a pretty big deal. I mean, and it's just really using these cheap, widely available inflammatory marker blood tests that really you could get results within a few hours at almost any hospital, even in a rural area. And just to put it into context, one of those cases was HLH and one was Tafro. And at the end, using the results of this study, we'll work through it together, how we can use the results to tell which was which. So as we said, both are rare diseases that's caused by the body attacking itself. And really, you really need a lot of biopsies and a lot of kind of fancy testing to make these diagnoses that sometimes can be, one, hard to get the biopsies logistically, depending where your hospital is, but also biopsy results sometimes take weeks before you actually get the result. So meanwhile, the patient is sick and maybe getting worse. So you might not have 2 weeks to wait to get results on these biopsies. So this is why we looked into this blood work method that could help us diagnose this disease a lot faster, or at least point you in the right direction if you're running against time and have to choose one treatment over the other. And why is this important? So both can be fatal over several weeks. So it comes on very fast, and thus it's really important to diagnose it quickly. And as we talked about a bit, both have very similar test results, so it's hard to tell them apart. But they both have very different treatments, so it's really important to know the difference. So a little bit again, this IMCD Tafro subtype is the most dangerous type of Castleman disease, usually comes on over days to weeks, and then has some features that we talk about, like the low blood count, swollen lymph nodes, the kidneys don't work as well, you've got fever and fluid, and the treatment for this, as many of you guys know, is siltuximab. Versus this next one, HLH, usually occurs in people that have an underlying disease, so people that have some sort of cancer or an autoimmune disease, or it can be triggered by an infection that somebody has, such as COVID, for example. And this also comes on over days to weeks. And I intentionally have the slide laid out with this because you can see that these symptoms and features is almost a direct copy from my last slide. And that's just to exemplify that these diseases have almost exactly the same symptoms and findings. But the treatment for HLH is much different. It's actually chemotherapy in a lot of cases, and sometimes a bone marrow transplant. And sometimes you use this ruxolitinib drop, which is very interesting, Bridget, that you were talking about this as they're looking into ruxolitinib, this tablet that could be an alternative or another option for tafro as well. So basically, you want to be sure what you're treating because if your patient has HLH, they should probably be getting, or at least talking about the possibility of chemo or a bone marrow transplant, versus if they have tafro, generally you're looking at things like siltuximab, for example, not a bone marrow transplant. So what's new? I alluded to it, but this discovery essentially allows us to tell the difference between HLH and tafro with pretty good certainty and with test results that can only take a few hours to get back that are available at virtually any hospital in the world. So it helps doctors to diagnose tafro more quickly and hopefully save lives by speeding up the diagnosis. And again, just using cheap blood tests. And this is the study essentially. So we actually got it published in the American Journal of Hematology, a pretty big journal in that field. So we are very excited about that. It's called ferritin C-reactive protein and soluble CD25, distinguished tafro from HLH. And you can see the authors, but lots of familiar names, I'm sure, for many of you. Lots from the CDCN, certainly. It was a big collaborative effort.
It's also on our website. So if you guys go to our publication library, you can access the full PDF if you want to read it.
So how did this idea come about? So it's all fine and well to say that this all happened, but it's kind of interesting. We basically just noticed that the blood work results of patients in general with tafro all looked a certain way, versus if you take a bunch of patients with HLH, that blood work also looked very similar to each other. So especially in terms of these inflammatory markers, ferritin, CRP, and soluble CD25. So we said, what if we compared what the blood work tests look like in tafro versus what the blood work tests look like in HLH and see if that's actually predictive or if it actually has a statistical value, I'll say, in terms of helping you diagnose. So how did we test this? I actually emailed CDCN 2 years ago before I knew anybody, actually. It was kind of a cold email, but I saw that the CDCN and I guess Pennsylvania had this great database called the Accelerate database that the CDCN holds and upholds. Thanks to all of you guys, actually, for donating a lot of your blood tests and a lot of your records to help make this possible. So it's really a big thanks to all of you. So I emailed them and Bridget got back to me right away and we decided to collaborate on it. So I was so happy that you emailed me back. So they were able to donate their tafro database, which has 73 patients that fit kind of this criteria. And then Dr. Chen, who many of you know, actually has his own database of this other disease called HLH with 56 people. So we looked at all of their blood work in terms of their ferritin, CRPs, and soluble CD25s. Then we did all this fancy statistics, which I'm not a stats guy. There's a reason that I didn't do a math degree, but there are people who are very good at that. So we asked them to give us a hand to do some calculations and came up with some kind of staggering results that we were very pleased with. So not to get into the weeds of this, but this is just one of the tables that compares some of these blood works. And you can see that the blue bars are very different than the green bars, showing that the results are different. And then these are just some other fancy stats. So the furthest that the line is towards the top left of this box is the more significant that is. So basically, they're extremely significant results. And this was the outcome in our study. So we came up with a method that doctors around the world can use to help differentiate them practically. So you can see this box on the left. You've got what we call as doctors cytokine storm. So this picture with a lot of the symptoms of severe inflammation in the body, like fever, low blood counts, big spleen, swollen lymph nodes. And that doctor wonders, does this patient have HLH or do they have tafro? So you send off the blood work for these three tests, the CRP, ferritin, and soluble CD25. And then we've made this decision rule that based on how high each of these values are, it kind of puts you into the Tafro bucket or the HLH bucket. So we'll just go back to the cases to finish up, and I'm actually going to get you guys a fun interactive activity to use this new rule going back to the first cases to tell us which of these two patients had HLH and which had Tafro. Because either of them really could have been HLH or Tafro from the information that the doctors had. So the case one, here were the inflammatory markers, and I have conveniently our little decision rule in the bottom. So
LH.
I don't know, does anybody want to take a stab at it? This is a safe quiz. There's no judgment.
I'd be cheating, Stephen.
No fair, Tammy. I know, Tammy. Somebody commented one is HLH. Yeah, that's exactly right. So if you look at this decision rule, the ferritin being 35,000 kind of fits into that HLH blue box in the bottom corner. So ferritin over 4,900, and then the CRP being less than 80 fits, and the CD25 being over 3,900 fits. So this one, technically, those doctors at the time, in retrospect, if they had this research available at the time, might have been able to make a decision on treatment for HLH with, for example, chemotherapy or a bone marrow biopsy, perhaps even weeks in advance. And now we go to the next one. So if we look at these inflammatory markers and see which box it fits into, somebody commented correctly in the chat box that it's Tafro syndrome. So the ferritin being less than 4,900 and the CRP being over 80 would point you towards Tafro. And that's what this young man had. So you would treat him with siltuximab. So in that case where there was a bit of a diagnostic dilemma, I think that would have sped up the decision to treat them and make them better faster. And that's everything, I think. So the long and short of this, or the take-home message I'll say, is that when doctors think somebody has either Tafro or HLH, this study will help to diagnose them earlier, more accurately, and get them their correct treatment faster. And most importantly, saving lives. So I'm very hopeful that this will help to save lives in the future. And then I have a kind of a nice slide here. So this is actually the young man from case two. So I diagnosed him a couple of years ago. This is the tall fella here, much taller than me. And he very kindly gave his consent to use this photo of us together with his father. And this is 2 years out now. And I spoke with him just the other day, and he's completely asymptomatic, living his life, feels healthier than ever. He told me on siltuximab. So a feel-good story, we'll say. And I think that's the end of my presentation, basically. Any questions from anybody? Not only about my presentation, but I guess about Bridget's and everybody else's as well.
Dr. Rowe, can you hear me?
Hi, Lisa. I can hear you.
Hi. I'm not sure how to mute and unmute on this thing. It's making me crazy, but I'm glad you can hear me. I just wanted to say thank you so much for, doing this study. It's so important because I am CDIPL, and I had a misdiagnosis of HLH, and I went through treatment, had the chemo, lost my hair, all of that. And then a month after I was done, all my symptoms came back. So they had to start over. And I think with blood tests like this, and more and more research is done, I probably wouldn't have had the misdiagnosis because it wasn't very nice. So I just wanted to say thank you. That's very, very special that you're doing this.
Oh, thanks for telling us about that, Lisa. That's Not great to hear that that happened to you, but I'm glad to hear that perhaps we can prevent a similar situation in the future. And I hope you're doing well.
Yes.
I'm gonna stop sharing the slides and just open it up for all of us for the remaining time for any questions or anything we have for Bridget, myself, Dr. Rowe, Dr. Fajgenbaum, anybody.
No one else has anything to say. You know, you can count on me.
Let's hear it.
I just want to say, everybody buy a cookbook. Sell them to your friends. They make great hostess gifts for the holidays. That's all.
Yeah, are they live, Madison, to buy?
They will be next week.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
I'd just like to say thanks to Dr. Rowe for helping my son out.
Thanks, Tammy. I'm really glad to see you.
Yes, you
Hope
too.
all is well, Tammy.
Oh, everything's going great as long as he's doing good, hey?
Yeah. Oh, I gotta say, I couldn't believe he looked so healthy, and he told me that he felt better than even before his diagnosis. So I'm
Yeah.
so happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. And it did take weeks and weeks, as you know, for us to get, it was that is it HLH or is it IMCD? And they delayed quite a while treating him because of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a month and a half or 2 months, something like
Yep.
that, maybe before he got definitive treatment. So,
Yeah.
actually, Tammy, that's kind of what inspired me to kind of email Bridget and look into that question because I did think that maybe in that situation it would have maybe made a bit of a difference to
Yeah.
get him treatment faster.
Yeah, I think so. But good. So it's all good.
Dr. Rowe, there was actually a question in the chat that said, did any of the subjects have, for instance, high ferritin and high CRP?
Oh yeah. Hi, I see Daniel sent that. So hi Daniel. I do believe that some did. So there are some patients with the Tafro in our database that we had that did have a high CRP and sometimes even very high ferritin. So I don't think it's a perfect rule, but statistically, just based on the 70 people that we had with Tafro and about 50 something with HLH, it was about 99%. So it was very useful. For example, if a doctor had to make a decision on the spot one way or the other, and you're gonna, rather than flipping a coin, it's would make it more likely that they pick the right thing if they had to pick.
Yeah, and ultimately, like Dr. Rose said, the bone marrow biopsy or the lymph node biopsy are going to really help in that situation potentially. Although, like he said, it could take weeks to get a good review of that, or maybe you have a poor piece of tissue. So it's definitely amazing to have these other things in place that can help us make these decisions.
Yeah, and sometimes it's very difficult to get a biopsy too if you're very sick, right?
Yes, and some people might get, some of you have heard of like a core needle biopsy, which is usually done bedside, and those aren't super helpful for being able to tell the difference between these sorts of things. And that's why we always recommend getting like a full resection or full excisional biopsy. But as you said, it's not always possible. So you have to have multiple avenues.
Yeah.
So this is awesome.
Esther, do you have a question?
Yes, my question is, has anyone else received IVIG treatment alongside of their rituximab or toxi or cetuximab, any one of those mabs? I'm interested to know about IVIG.
I know we definitely have patients who've done it. Um, Off the top of my head, I'm wondering if one of them might be willing to share.
Yeah, I've received IVIG over the years. It's rarely given for Castleman's, but it's actually sometimes used actually in setting of HLH. And so when I was having my fifth relapse 11 and a half years ago, we decided to try IVIG while I was relapsing, and there appeared to be some improvement during the relapse. And so we decided to keep it going. And so I get it every few months still. For thoughts that it has some sort of effect in the Castlemans, but also um, it does help you to fight off infections. And so I sort of have been afraid to stop taking it. But it's many years I probably could stop, but I keep taking it.
Oh, great. Thank you. I have begun and have some improvements. So it's a monthly infusion.
Yeah, and it's at least for me, I don't like the way that it makes me feel. How do you feel after your infusion? Do you feel okay?
No, I feel like a Mack truck rent.
Yeah, I mean, my team knows I feel like just out of it for like a week after my infusion. I like and I used to do home infusion at work, so I'd get the infusion while I was in the office because, there's too much work to be done for breaks, and I would be confused while I was getting it. And now I do the home infusion at home, but I still, try to work shortly thereafter, and I'm just very confused. It's tough.
Yeah. Okay. But my numbers anatomically, my lab numbers seem to be improving. So that's kind of a plus. So
Great. Yeah, no, that's
yeah.
great.
And I am 9 years into this with rituximab.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm vertical. Today's a good day.
Right.
I also wanted to share for Allison specifically, some of you know professionally, I'm a certified trauma recovery coach, and I wanted you to some of the things that have worked with clientele. I cannot have duality here, so I don't want to advertise that these are the things that I'm suggesting for you guys. But one of the things that works in my family unit, because I have, some of you may know, I'm a Jutina. I'm Jewish, and half of my family is very Catholic and is very Jewish. So I'm the bookend of hot mess. I'm right in the middle. And so my very Hispanic mother thinks this is all in my head. She's like, oh, you come from good genes. How could this be? You have this rare, incurable Castleman disease. And then the Jewish side of my family is like, you go get it. You have chutzpah. It's in your DNA. You can slay this, So I've got theirs and then the advocators, and I'm right in the middle. So one of the things that I've learned to do is to take all of this wonkiness, and for Allison specifically, when the family unit, or at least let me speak from my perspective, when my family unit was poo-pooing all of this, I had learned to, I think Karen said, to say boundaries. And so boundaries are the things that keep things out, but hedges keep things in. And so I needed to put a hedge around my essence, my soul, my being, while I'm learning about Castleman. Not so much about boundaries, because the boundaries were hard. They felt like cement, but the hedges felt softer and lighter. And I could say to my family that was, downers on Castleman, and I say, I'm going to self-care day today. No, I will get family dinner tonight. And was them seeing me advocating for myself in a powerful way.
Uh-oh. Did we lose her? Well, I think we might have lost her.
What a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it seems like she was on her phone in her car. All right. Well,
So basically, the establishment for myself, my family unit was the distinction between boundaries and hedges. When I put in hedges, it was much more softer for myself. And then they started coming along and understanding, oh, when I chose a self-care day, when I chose to stay home, when I chose to cocoon and not take a nap and just envelop and comfort my essence and my soul and my being that was having a hard day after IVIG or after the rituximab infusion, the hedge worked as a great processy for me. So I just wanted to share.
Thank you. I appreciate that coming from an Italian Irish background and cooking all the time and feeding people. And in the last month, I put that in place. I've started, and I've also learned to say no. If it's a big day and I'm not well, I say, kids, I can't come today. And that is softening the whole thing. I think as, you know, being like you, Jewish, Italian, we've got this family thing going. And they somehow think that their mamas are eternal, you know. But I have done that. And I've noticed last weekend with the children, the softer. And my son said to me, when I said to him, I've had a bit of a relapse, he said to me, Mum, you'd better come out home again and have dinner with us. Nothing got discussed around the table except they cooked for me and pandered to me, which was lovely. And I got to play with the grandchildren. And I think that's also, thank you, because I'm dealing with culture as well.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated that. And thank you to everybody. I'm sorry I went off a little bit in the beginning, but it's so lovely to find you. And what doctor said, I think I've got something there, and I'm going to get my doctor to get me a test for that because I've lost control of my bladder, which I've never done. I've got protein in the urine, all sorts of things happening, and I actually think that that's what's missing. I really appreciated that explanation of those two conditions with it, and that's what I think they're missing here. Thank you.
all right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us for another great community gathering. It was so exciting to have you guys all here. It was great to see you all again. You guys have my information if you need anything, and we'll talk soon.
Happy Thanksgiving for those that celebrate.
Thank
Happy
you so much.
Thanksgiving.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Madison.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Rowe.
Very much.
Awesome presentation.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank you,
Rowe.
Dr. Rowe.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank you,
Rowe.
Bridget.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madison.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Be well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Congrats, Gary.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.